Hey guys, what's up? Lex here, and I'm about to give you my impressions of Montana 16's VR demo at GDC 2016. Now, understand a few things. Number one, if you're not a huge fan of long videos, then you're probably not going to stick all the way through this. I'm going to be as detailed as I can remember, and that may take a while. So the short of this impressions video is that the positives were that the game looked fantastic, and I'll go into detail on that. If you want to stick around, I'll go into detail of the look of everything, and the game was fun. So those are my two big takeaways. It looked great and it was fun. And really, that's a lot of what a game needs to be successful. There were some things that I did not like with this thing. Number one was the fact that it was simplified for VR. So it wasn't a simulation football experience the way I expect a simulation football experience to be. Again, this is not the full game. I didn't play the full game. This was strictly built for this VR demo, and it was built to be a simple thing to not make people sick, because a lot of different colors, a lot of different transitions can make people really sick in VR. So they definitely have to figure that out for the full game. But it was also simplified because they wanted people to be able to access it. There were a lot of people who did not care about football, but thought the thought of VR football was really cool, and they tried it at the booth. So we have to remember. I know it's tough sometimes when you're in the community, the sim community. We have to remember we're not the only people that exist. There are other consumers. There are other media outlets, and they may not care exactly if more than just the cover 2 zone was in this VR demo. That's just me being blunt about it. But yes, that was a thing. Only the cover 2 zone defense was in this demo. There were a fair amount of plays. I think there were maybe 8 or so plays to choose from. They were all passing plays. There was no running the football at all. There was no running after the catch. Simply, when you completed a pass, you were down there, and then you would appear at that line for your next play. So obviously, I'm going to try not to ramble, but my thoughts are going all over the place. So let's get into this. So I was in San Francisco for GDC 2016. Thanks to Damon and company for inviting us out and letting us know that if we made the trip, because it was quite a trek for me. It was 3 hours there, 3 hours back. That if we made that trek, we would definitely be able to play and talk with him and just get to meet him and the team. Which, by the way, him and the team, very nice guys. Really, the hospitality was fantastic. So we got there, and as soon as you walk into GDC, if you walk in over on the left side of this expo building, the Moscone Center, they being Samsung were located right to the left. I mean, as soon as you walked in, they were there. The Samsung Lounge had a couple of different mobile games there and a bunch of chairs for people to kind of hang out and relax. Montana was one of those. I think there were 4 games there, maybe, and they were definitely the most popular game there, for sure. When I got there, it wasn't too busy. I think a lot of people went straight down to the expo floor, which you had to have a pass to get there, and the passes costed quite a bit of money for someone to get down there if they didn't have a media pass or whatever. So I think most people went down there. But by the end of it, there were a lot of people wanting to try out Montana 16, and the booth was buzzing. So when I got there, I kind of met some of the Superstar Games crew, and really nice guys. I was about to try on the headset and start seeing what this was all about, and Scott came over. You Are Paranoid, and we shook hands. This was our first time that we met. He came over with Damon, and it was interesting because I said, Scott, you can go first. You've been here longer than I have. And so he put on the helmet first, and I tried to gauge his reaction to see maybe how I would like it. And his reaction wasn't too great. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is horrible, but it was more of frustration. And so I tried on the VR headset. And when you put on the VR headset, how they handle menus in Gear VR is that they have a little dot that's right in the line of your vision, and you look at the thing that you want to touch, like the button you want to press. You look at that button and hold it there for a couple seconds, and then it then does its thing. It goes to the next menu. So I held my attention on retry, and here we are on the field. The field looks beautiful. They did a fantastic job. It looks great, detailed. It's like a indoor training facility, basically. A lot of white, a lot of gray, a lot of black. They obviously wanted to eliminate a lot of the color because the color and the motion and all that kind of stuff is what makes you sick when you do VR. So they wanted something simple and something that wasn't going to make people sick. I did notice there were some jagged edges on some of the some of the assets in the game, and the best way to describe that is back in the day, a couple years ago, like when Madden 13 came out, I remember looking at a comparison thread, 360 versus PS3, and the PS3 on the main menu like had little jaggies on like the logo and stuff like that. It's kind of like that. There were little jaggies on like the field markers and stuff. The only thing that was colored in the game were the goalposts and the quarterback model, which was Montana. The other player models in the game, the receivers, the defensive backs, the linemen, were kind of like nondescript characters. It's not like they were a bunch of blocks or something like that. They looked like players, but they were all like gray or silver or whatever you want to say. So how it works is when you are lined up, you are in third-person view. This is not a first-person game from what I played. I know a lot of people have been confused because in the interview I did with Damon, he said, kind of like an NFL 2K5 first-person mode experience. And I get that, first-person mode, you think first-person mode, but I think he just meant an on-the-field experience that we haven't really gotten, I guess, since Backbreaker, which would probably be the more apt comparison because it is a third-person view. It's not first-person, but the camera's not as close as it is in Backbreaker. The camera, in my opinion, was far enough back to see the field and not be so zoomed in that you feel overwhelmed. So you can actually look with the VR, like you look over here, you can see your receivers, you look over there, you see your receivers, you can look at the coverage and everything. I even looked back like that just to see if I could see the goalposts and looked up at the ceiling. It's crazy that you feel like you're in this stadium or in this training facility. It was very cool, and I've tried the Gear VR before. And when I tried it, I was like, man, it would be cool to be in a football stadium. And sure enough, it was really cool. So what you do is basically you can look at a receiver, lock on to that receiver, and then hike the ball. That way, if he's running like a short slant route, then you can have the jump and be on him. Of course, it would be cool if the AI picked it up that you were looking at him and they, if you look at someone too long, you could throw a pick. That wasn't the case in this VR training. Again, it was very simple stuff. The defense was only in cover 2 zone. They didn't change up. They didn't move intelligently. Really, they kind of moved like electric football. Just kind of, I don't remember if I saw legs moving or not. I don't remember that. But basically, they're there to kind of simulate. I'm pretty sure legs were moving and everything, but I was just focusing on my receivers. But they're there to simulate the defense. They're not there to, I guess, mimic what we would see in real life on the field. Where I really came into issue with what I played and what I really didn't like, and I wasn't impressed the first couple times I played, is that so the controls were all on the VR headset. Now, they say they have it working with a controller, and that you'll be able to use a controller more than likely, but this demo was only on the VR headset, and I think that was because they didn't want to put a controller in someone's hands who was just looking to try it out real quick. So the way the Gear VR works is it has like a D-pad on the side, and it's not, you don't push it, it's just a sensor D-pad. And it's got a sensor in the middle, and what you were supposed to do is when you wanted to hike the ball, you push the sensor, hikes the ball, you look at your receiver, and he'll be red if he's covered, and then as soon as he's getting open, it'll change smoothly from red to green. And so I kept pushing it, and I wasn't hiking the ball. I kept trying to throw it. It wasn't throwing the ball. It would seem like it would throw it at random. And so I got really frustrated, and I told the guy who was manning the booth from Superstar Games, I said, I can't get it to work. I can't get it to hike. And Scott agreed. He said, I couldn't get it to do it either. And he was like, really? And he looked at it and he said, seems to be working fine. And I said, okay. And I think I stepped away from it for a little bit to talk with Scott and to Damon. And then I went back to it and tried it again. And I found out that I was pushing too long or too hard on the sensor, and all I needed to do was give it a quick tap like that. And once I figured out that quick tap motion, the game became really fun. I was determined to score a touchdown, and I ended up scoring a touchdown after several tries. I actually overheated the VR unit because I was just playing so much and playing over and over again. It really was fun. Was it a simulation football experience that I expect from the final product? No, it wasn't. It was fun, and that's what you really have to look for. Is the game fun? And this little portion was fun, but it definitely had flaws. It definitely had a lot of flaws with the receivers wanting to dive every single catch. There were a few times where they made normal catches, but for the most part they dived. Also, when I was throwing the ball, when you throw the ball and you're in the line of the receiver, it gives you a dotted line showing that projection. I thought if I looked up into the sky, that projection would kind of arc and I'd be able to lob it. It wasn't the case. If I looked too far up, it would lose track of the receiver with the dotted line. And so, that's something that maybe can be in the final product or something. I really think that I was really mixed about this whole VR experience. I'm not a huge fan of VR. I'm not. I'm just like most of you guys. I would prefer to sit down in front of a screen and play a game. But as far as VR experiences go, I think it was pretty cool. And I think them being first to the market with a VR experience is going to be good for them. And it will probably make them a big success, which is only good news for the development of that fully fledged console or PC simulation football game that we want. Not saying it's going to happen, but that it could lead to that, and that would be nothing but good news. So another bad thing about the VR experience was that when I took the headset off, my vision was kind of wavy. Like it was almost like I was cross-eyed when I came out of it. And it was not a pleasant experience when I pulled that VR headset off. And it happened every time I did it as well. I also had a headache by the time I was leaving San Francisco. I don't know if I can contribute that all to Montana 16 because there were a lot of people, there was a lot of noise, and I did have to drive through San Francisco traffic, not once but twice. And so, my head was kind of overwhelmed as it was. but I'm sure the VR didn't help. One thing I am really impressed about with the VR is that I didn't get sick, and I'm someone who gets sick really easily. Playing Minecraft just on my computer here, I can play for 30 minutes before I get a headache and get sick. Roller coasters, get sick. Car rides, get sick. But this, I didn't. And I was actually really excited about that. I was like, because I hate feeling that nauseous feeling, especially when I have a lot more stuff that I need to do that day. It was just a pleasant surprise to not feel ill. One of the cool things that they did, and they got this together in a very short amount of time, they partnered with Samsung not too long ago. I think the partnership was announced a month ago maybe, and Samsung is like, hey, we want a VR experience to show off at GDC, and so these guys went to work, and they did a phenomenal job building it. They put in so much work to build this VR demo unit, and they got 60 frames per second in both eyes, which is crazy. 60 frames per second on a mobile device, just plain insane. But to do it twice, because you have to do it for each eye, so you're basically doing 120 frames per second if you add those up. I mean, what they accomplished was pretty insane. I did notice a few moments of stuttering, but it was nothing too bad. There was animations. They didn't seem like they were all in there. It did seem like there were missing animations, and I'm sure there were. Like I said, they had to put this together in a very short amount of time, and from my knowledge, I think they have a ton of animations that they've done. So obviously, this is not indicative of the full game that will release eventually. But it was nice to be able to play something. It was nice to be able to demo something. And I know Damon showed some video off on Periscope. I didn't see the Periscope video. I thought about getting video myself and putting the camera through the VR, but it just wouldn't translate well. The VR experience, you have to be there. You have to be in the headset, and you have to experience that way. Like I said, at first, and I told Damon this, at first I was not impressed with it. But the more I played it, the more I got the hang of it. The more fun it became. And so if they can continue to work on that, that's awesome. And I want to give that feedback to the main game too. And we will be giving that feedback to the main game. We want this game to be as good as possible. We don't want it to be a rushed product, and Superstar Games knows that. They don't want to put out a bad product either. And we have to make sure that everything is in order, even for releasing a gameplay video. And I know a lot of people want gameplay video. I do too. But at the same time, there are a lot of different channels that has to go through. And not only that, it needs to be quality gameplay footage. You have to put something out there that shows off what you're intending to hype in the game. So with Madden, for example, they're not going to show as their first gameplay clip a fullback run, right? They're going to show, we want to show off the wide receiver defensive back interactions this year, so let's get that working and get that looking good, and then we'll show that off. The Superstar Games is a startup company. They don't have a huge team, but they're still not an independent group. Like if I were to, take out a loan and hire a few guys and stuff like that, they're not like that. They have investors, and stuff like that has to go through investors, especially Joe, because Joe's a big part of it too. And it's his game, so stuff has to go through different channels. It just can't be released. But we're working on that. All of us guys that are in this pre-alpha or consultant group are saying, listen, the community needs to know about this, they need to see this, and we need to work on a plan to get this out. We are definitely fighting for more information, more transparency, and Damon wants to be more transparent as well, but he's got a lot of masters to serve. He's the CEO, but he's still got bosses himself. So I think that's about all I can say for right now. Again, it wasn't a complicated demo. There weren't complicated controls. It was a challenge to play for sure, but it wasn't necessarily challenging because the AI was so great. It was challenging because I was getting used to the VR and getting used to the control on the VR. Like I said, controller Damon knows the importance of a controller. I talked to him about it. I talked to him about it at GDC, and we both agree we need a controller for this game, an actual in your hands controller for the game, and the importance of kind of getting that info out, that knowledge of, hey, this is a good controller to use. This is what we've been using with it. And relaying that to people is important in my mind. Getting you guys information is important. Maybe not blowing the lid off the whole entire game, because every game has to have some sort of things that you have to experience yourself and find out yourself. But constant info, even if it's smaller info, just constant info to let you guys know that we're still here, we're still kicking, we're still building, we're still testing, we're in it to make a good football game. And I know a lot of people have come up, all of a sudden there are a lot of independent developers wanting to make a football game now, which is fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with their games. The more the merrier. Awesome. I'm really excited, and so you guys should be too. The football landscape has not been this active in a while, so we need to continue to support it. Find something to support. If you want to support Madden, do that. I know the Game Changers guys, Sim, Smitty, Azure, those guys are getting in there and they're testing the game. They're saying, hey, this ain't cool. Hey, this needs to be in here. Now, they don't have the final say. We don't have the final say. The companies have the final say. So, you can't really blame us if something doesn't get in there, but we're going to fight for what we think needs to be in there. And it's just like us, we're talking to Damon every day, but ultimately him and his partners are the ones who have the final say on design and all that. I'm grateful that he trusts us enough, that he values our opinion enough to have us in there and be talking to him, because he doesn't really have to do that. He doesn't have to embrace the community like that. And neither does EA. They don't have to embrace the community like that. You think that they're going to lose any money by not embracing the community? No. And that's a big thing. We as a community need to kind of get over ourselves. We're not the only people that exist. There are other consumers. There are a lot of other consumers. And we're not going to make or break a game, more than likely. So, but the fact that these guys want to work with us and get our ideas into these games, and they feel like our ideas are really going to help this game succeed, that's awesome. And that's nothing but good stuff. So if you are into football, pick a side, pick multiple sides, doesn't matter. Just spend more time supporting the game you want to support and less time just kind of yelling into the wind, because when you yell at somebody, they're probably not going to pay any attention to you. I've muted a lot of people who are not respectable on Twitter, who, just say some ridiculous stuff. So if you want to come on Twitter, you can follow me at Lex Marston. If you have any questions and you ask them in a respectful manner, I will answer them to the best of my ability. I'm under NDA, so there's some things I can't talk about. There's some things I don't know. But if it's something like that, I'm going to say, can't say, don't know. I'm going to respond to you as long as you respect me and appreciate what we're doing. I have no problem answering whatever question that you have. If I can answer it, I'm going to answer it, and I think I've done a pretty good job of that on Twitter. But anyway, that's pretty much my thoughts on the VR demo for Montana 16. I'm very hopeful for the game. I've met all the people involved, and to me, they're really nice guys. They're really smart, and Damon's really strategic. So, you can make up your own mind, of course, and I would advise nobody to throw out any judgment, good or bad, until you see some actual gameplay. And even then, don't throw any judgment out until you play the game. That's the best bet. Don't crown a game or don't slam a game until you've actually played it. That's just kind of like the overall best thing to do here. certainly I would not slam a game so hard as to go out and just pour my emotions out to the developer, telling them how stupid they are or whatever, until I actually play the game. Nor would I, I'm more apt to do this because I'm a bit of a, fanboy when it comes to stuff I like. My fandom often takes, hold of me. Nor would I really push out and say, this is going to be the greatest game of all time. The only game I really done that with recently is Fallout 4, and that's because I'm a huge Fallout 4 fan. You've seen my collection up there, and I love Fallout 4. It's not the greatest game of all time. I was wrong about that, but I mean it's still awesome. It's fantastic, but still, just wait and see. And I know you're like, well, we've been waiting, and you're probably gonna wait just a little bit longer. I'm hoping to get some. I'm hoping that Damon is able to release some gameplay. But again, they're not gonna release it if one, they are too busy building the game, and two, if they don't have the game exactly where they want it. I mean, you would not release any gameplay if you didn't like where it was. That's not to say that they don't like where it was, but obviously they're still building the game. Anyway, so I think I've rambled on long enough, and I don't think I have anything else left to say. But again, if you have any questions about this video, my impressions, or the interview video, hit me up on Twitter at Lex Marston. Like I said, if you ask me nicely, I'd love to respond. If not, I have no time for you. Sorry, that's just the way it goes. I don't like to spend my time, looking at people who like to yell on Twitter. It's pointless. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe if you want more Montana videos. I don't know how frequently they're going to come out. I'm probably going to go back now to doing reviews and stuff like that. I also have a Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/LexMarstonPage, you can like that page and follow me on there as well. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, see you later, guys.